She's saying, I'm going to be a ghost, but I'm not going to interfere in your life. That, for me, best case scenario.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So,
well, best case scenario is
it's like a little something.
Is no ghost.
Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we are exploring New York, but not just any part of New York, spooky apartment buildings in New York City.
The dark, insidious underbelly.
That's right, the halls of which you do not speak.
Exactly, Kristen, exactly.
Except we do.
And ironically, they're often very, very high above the ground.
Yes.
I thought this was a cool idea for
too.
a show. I mean, obviously there have been, like, Evil Dead Rise came out, which is high-rise horror. And there have been movies before, like Poltergeist. Of course, everybody knows Poltergeist 3. Everybody cares about this movie and knows everything about it.
That's the one with the scary preacher, right?
No. Well, he is in it too, but he was dead at that point.
Okay.
The scary preacher starts in Poltergeist 2 and is the greatest, like, most frightening character in any movie of all time.
Just look up Preacher Poltergeist and you will see. And I think just visually looking, you're like, this must be a scary thing.
You're gonna die in there. You're all gonna die.
It's so nuts.
No, Poltergeist 3 takes place in a technologically advanced, state-of-the-art high-rise apartment building.
Oh, I've never seen
Chicago or something. And it's not very good.
Yeah. Well, what can you do?
Gremlins 2.
I haven't seen that.
That's another tall building.
You're just naming tall building horror movies.
As much as I possibly can.
But it is interesting because not a lot of horror movies are like kind of a rural sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's
suburban.
Everybody's really well acquainted with like the Texas Chainsaw sort of deal.
Yep.
Or it's like a slice of life where it's like you can imagine your family in this house.
Totally.
And look what happens. And so I guess because apartments aren't as sprawling as a home with a big yard or a farm or whatever, they might not get quite as much play in the spooky world, but there's stuff going on. Especially
because you think about like I can't believe, by the way, that we have not done a dedicated New York episode.
I know.
It's right there. We're in New Jersey. It feels like it would be a no-brainer that we've done these episodes where we'll like pick a state, pick a town, and drill into local folklore as much as possible. I'm shocked that we have not done that with New York, and we're not really doing that in this episode.
Yeah.
But I've got stuff that's exclusively in New York. Mm-hmm. You do as well. So we're touching on some hauntings in New York. But because it's an urban environment, it's so odd to think about hauntings being in a big, tall apartment building.
Yeah.
Like, hauntings are still hot these days. Insidious 5 just did boffo at the box office.
I know. And Will and I loved it.
And it was great. Spoiler alert. Patreon.com/GTTUpod to hear our full thoughts.
Yeah, we said
loved Insidious 5 unexpectedly.
We loved it. And we were like, oh, we'll do like a 15-minute mini review. And we did like 35 minutes.
Totally went nuts for it.
It was great.
But so I love the idea of like, you could do a Conjuring movie in New York.
Yeah, you certainly
And these are the places where you might be able to do that.
Yeah, I feel like when we cover New York, I'm sure you could do this for a million different states, but because we live close-ish to it, we know a little bit more about it. I feel like we should do like an upstate New York and New York City.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Sure.
We did do Long Island already, so at least
we did do Long Island.
We got that in.
That's true. You're absolutely right.
So, Will, remind me, what apartment building are you talking about? Or it's a mishmash?
I've got sort of a mishmash.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with a really, really cool one?
No, start with the crappiest one you have.
Good. I've got it. I've got it right here.
Great.
So New York is known for a lot of things. Now, I did just boast about high-rises and apartment buildings.
And this is going to be...
This is what I'm about to tell you
subway?
about. Is the one thing I have that is not a full-on apartment building.
Sorry.
But stay with me. It's in New York City proper. It's an unexpected haunted house in New York City. Have you ever heard of the Aldridge Mansion?
No.
All right. This is a historic mansion on the Upper West Side, once owned by the Aldridge family in the late 1800s, and it's literally how you might picture a spooky mansion in the middle of, surrounded by fields. It's just plopped in the middle of the city, essentially.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been preserved.
Do you do tours and stuff there?
Yes, it is a museum as well, and there's a guide that takes you around.
Oh, do people come to see them?
Yes, they do. It really is a scream.
Yeah.
So here's the story. Here's part of the lore of the Aldridge Mansion. One early morning, Sir Aldridge Mansion, sure. Sir Aldridge, he was furious to find that his breakfast hadn't been made for him yet.
Boy.
Well, it turned out that his eldest daughter, Gertrude, had stabbed the rest of the family to death in their sleep.
Oh my God.
She would eventually, considered, more of an embarrassment than a criminal or something.
Do you know how old she was, by any chance?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
That's
Maybe
fine.
30s.
Mm-hmm.
She'd be kept in the basement, fed through a hole in the door.
Oh my God.
And she would later die in that room. And after her death, the room was just sealed shut. Her ghost haunts the building to this day, but here are some other bizarre historical oddities. A tour guide explains that this house comes equipped with, quote, a face bidet.
Okay.
And
couldn't you just call that a sink?
You'd think. And an
face bidet.
an anti-Irish fence. There was a grandfather clock that was once said to be on the Titanic.
That's so funny.
And it was saved by Sir Aldridge, though a Romanian woman and her child were forced out of the lifeboat to make room for it.
What? By the way, I would just like to quickly say, we are Irish. I'm not just laughing.
Yes, it was not so long ago that Irish, need not apply.
Certainly, but I also just wanted to clarify me cracking up.
That there's an anti-Irish fence.
Yeah. No, I think it's okay.
And the tour guide also explains that there was a parlor room on the first floor, which was the room where Sir Aldridge entertained his wealthy guests. That was famously the room where P.T. Barnum got his idea of enslaving elephants.
Oh my God. So this is like the worst house.
The worst house on the planet. This is also where, in the modern era, I think around 2016, a young ghost hunter named Aaron Gilbert had ectoplasm puked all over her by Gertrude, and it, quote, went everywhere, by the way, in every crack. Oh, wait a minute. The Aldridge Mansion, my mistake, I wasn't reading a historical document. These are all events from the movie Ghostbusters, released in 2016.
No, I was just pulling out my phone to look up whether it was in Ghostbusters, because Michelle in our chat said, is this the place from Ghostbusters 2016? I was like, is it?
50,000 points to Michelle for catching that. Did you get that off of me just saying Aldridge?
Maybe. I don't know.
Boffo job.
I wouldn't put it past Michelle.
So here's what's going on.
We record live on youtube.com/GTTUpod every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. That's how Michelle is watching with us.
Here's why I'm telling you about Ghostbusters 2016's Scary Mansion that was in New York.
None of that is true at all?
None of that is true, but here's the thing.
They included the thing about, like, an Irish keeping out fence?
Yes. Well, it's a joke. It's a comedy movie.
I know. It's funny.
It makes a lot more sense now, right?
It certainly does.
But so here's the deal. I was already poking around because of Ghostbusters in New York. I wanted to see...
Stupid ass. You horse's ass. It's really funny.
I wanted to know primarily if Dana Barrett's apartment building from the original Ghostbusters had a foot in truth. Mm-hmm. And I do have more about that later.
Oh, cool.
But then I was like, well, wait a minute. I kind of do like the opening of Ghostbusters 2016.
I do too. I remember I was like rubbing my hands together spiritually during the opening.
I had a few minutes of optimism at the beginning of Ghostbusters 2016 where they are exploring this haunted house and hearing this lore backstory of a ghost that remains there today.
Yeah.
And the reason why it made it in my notes to tell you in this episode, one, it's funny to pull the rug out from under you, and I've been describing something made up and stupid to you.
Yeah.
But because the ghost...
I was like, oh, do you do tours?
I guess I'm not at all shocked to discover that the Ghostbusters fandom wiki is intensely loaded with information.
Yeah, that's not surprising to me.
And good thing. That Ghostbusters 2016 Aldridge Mansion might be based on an actual mansion that does actually exist still in Manhattan.
Oh, cool.
So, I just told you about Gertrude, the daughter who killed her family and died in the house and became a ghost. Mm-hmm. Now listen to this. The Merchant's House Museum. It's the only 19th century family home in New York City to be preserved intact.
Oh, cool.
It does tours and stuff. Gertrude, a daughter living in the Merchant House Museum, died in the house and is one of the famous ghosts.
Oh.
So Ghostbusters said Gertrude killed her family and was chained up in the basement. In real life, Gertrude asked her father Samuel if she could marry a young doctor she'd fallen in love with. Mm-hmm. And he said no. He refused to let her marry this doctor. She died, quote, a spinster at the age of 93 in the same room of the mansion where she had been born.
Wow.
Birth to death in that house, 93 years.
But so this is another case, like Sleepy Hollow, of taking a real person and totally fictionalizing what their deal was.
To some extent. I mean, they took...
I guess just the name.
The same first name. Her name was Gertrude Treadwell. And no one knows this, by the way.
Right.
Ghostbusters wiki found this. And then
So somebody knows it.
And then I'm scrolling through and I stumbled across it. But I have not really found other places where people are like, oh... It's
meant to be Gertrude Treadwell or whatever.
No one talks about Ghostbusters 2016.
Ghostbusters Wiki does.
Yes. That is a very specific place for a very specific audience.
But still, what is... even though it's not as widely seen as Sleepy Hollow.
Sure.
It's still the same principle. They took inspiration from a real person and they were like, yeah, she killed her whole family and then she was fed through a hole for a million years.
Yeah, but fiction always takes inspiration in some way. At least they didn't say this is the story of Gertrude Treadwell who died a spinster at 93 and then drag her through the mud.
Yes.
They created a whole different person just with the same first name, perhaps inspired by...
And also inspired by her home.
Inspired by her home.
So it's not just name. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, I can see that. I can see what you mean. So here's what she does. Her spirit is said to still watch over the building. Mm-hmm. In one instance, back in 1933, Gertrude's ghost, quote, came rushing out of the front door to shoo away a group of children playing on the lawn.
That's awesome.
She and her dead siblings have since become well recognized by locals.
Cool.
So that's the Merchant House, perhaps the inspiration for the world-famous Aldridge Mansion from the beloved movie Ghostbusters 2016.
That's right.
And this is a place where you can look it up, everybody. Merchants House Museum. Book a tour. Go check it out. It seems like they've done, ghost tours and had ghost groups come in. I saw a picture where they're like somebody, a ghost hunter managed to photograph a freaky phantom in a mirror.
Yeah.
It was like clearly someone's reflection. And I'm a skeptic by and large.
But what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But go check it out. I will say in real life, the Merchant's House Museum does not look quite like a mansion, on acres and acres of land. It's like a 2-story brownstone. That kind of feeling.
Right.
But it still is.
Still, sometimes not that I've experienced one of these, but Law and Order SVU has shown me that sometimes when you walk inside one of these brownstones, you're like, holy crap, it's a mansion inside here.
100%.
So it's not always indicative of it not being like grand.
Exactly. That does appear to be the case.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Wowie.
So, why don't we stay on Ghostbusters?
Great.
Right? I just surprised you with Ghostbusters 2016. Mm-hmm. Let's go to the celebrated one. I'm going to talk to you about Dana Barrett's apartment building from the original Ghostbusters, said to be at 550 Central Park West.
Okay.
Now, Ghostbusters was largely shot in New York. This is a real building.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if we're going to have a trailer for that anytime soon.
The new one.
Yeah,
presumably. Yeah, there's like a logo for the new Ghostbusters where it's like the classic, no ghosts logo frozen over.
Yep.
So frosty New York, I guess. But so here's the movie lore, and then we'll get into the real life.
Excellent.
In 1984, musician Dana Barrett experienced hauntings in her apartment, including eggs popping out of their carton and frying directly on her countertop, and a terror dog inside her refrigerator that, when she opens it, screams, Zool!
Ghostbusters kicks ass.
It really does. Pete Venkman will later say, generally, you don't see that kind of behavior in a major appliance.
Right.
He's right.
It's not wrong.
550 Central Park West was said to have been constructed by an architect named Ivo Shandor. He was a doctor, performed a lot of unnecessary surgery. Then, in 1920, he started a secret society. And now they get into the actual building and how it's made and why the events of Ghostbusters are happening at all.
Awesome.
The structure of the roof cap is exactly... This is a quote from the movie, if it's not clear. And believe it or not, it's not Dan Aykroyd saying this, but it feels like it's written. I'm going to read it.
It's going to be like a long run-on sentence.
This is a crazy sentence. I'm just going to read it as... It's actually Harold Ramis, Gun Spengler said this. I'm going to read this as Dan Aykroyd because it makes more sense.
Any chance for you to use your Dan Aykroyd voice, too? I think we should lean into.
Any shot. Mm-hmm. The structure of this roof cap is exactly like the kind of telemetry tracker that NASA used to identify dead pulsars in deep space. That's what's at the top of this New York City building.
Yeah.
A dome that's like the tracker NASA used to identify deep pulsars in space. Dead pulsars in deep space.
Okay.
That screams like UFO to me.
Yeah, definitely.
And Ghostbusters was always like, from minute one, they see the librarian ghost, and then she transforms into a big beast mode ghost.
Right.
Where it's like the ghosts in Ghostbusters, I'm not sure that they're ghosts.
Yeah, the rules are very tricky. I know that you definitely spoken about it. Did you make a TikTok about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've considered expanding this into like a full, like almost like audio essay of going into my theory.
I mean, I think it's awesome. It's something I had never thought about before, so I'm in full support of you doing something like that. Do you want to give the people just a taste real quick?
Yeah,
so
my theory is based on Ghostbusters, Casper, and the Haunting of Hill House. My theory which I think are some of the greatest ghosts ever captured on film.
I haven't seen Casper like since I was a kid.
It's gonzo.
Yeah.
I guess Casper is weird to say it's one of the greatest ghost movies ever captured on film.
I will say I was surprised to hear that, so I was like, wow, I guess I gotta get back to Casper.
Casper, it has something that happens in it that speaks to my theory and is emotionally terrifying. So, put simply, my theory is this. In these movies, you're often seeing ghosts that don't make any visual sense. I don't know what's happening.
Slimer.
What is Slimer?
It's supposed to be a ghost?
Slimer was a guy? That was a person?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Can't
Muncher in Ghostbusters Afterlife, where it's got like 6 legs.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. But so... in Ghostbusters 2, we see the Scoleri brothers who were tried for murder and killed in the electric chair. But they pop out looking like 2 gigantic Muppets.
Yeah, they're like blue, right?
Yeah. And they're like big, bloated, like literally like made of felt. They look like Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets, you know?
Yeah.
And so my theory is basically that when you die... maybe at first you look like yourself in spirit form, but the longer that you're dead, maybe you start to go insane, and the memory of how a human functions starts to fade.
I love this.
That's
theory.
how you get that wispy little ghost tail instead of having legs. Your legs are gone now.
This frankly also works for your Insidious theory.
It does work for my Insidious theory.
Yeah.
Just like the memory of life, which is not like a conscious memory that you're holding on to. It's like a reflex. You're forgetting what it was to be alive.
Yeah, and as that moves further and further away, your humanity moves further and further away from you, and you end up looking like a Muppet.
You end up looking like Slimer, or like the Scoleri brothers. Yes, you look like a cartoon character.
Right.
And even in Mike Flanagan's amazingly like emotional, heavy, gothic Haunting of Hill House, there's like a tall man ghost who's like 8 feet tall.
Yep.
And it's said to have some connection to how he lived his life, why he physically looks this way.
Yeah.
There's something psychically going on that converts your appearance in the afterlife.
Right.
I
hope not in real life.
I certainly hope not.
Oof.
But it's my favorite way
movie.
to depict ghosts in media.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Also Luigi's Mansion. Anyway, we just had a Ghostbuster explaining that Dana Barrett's apartment building uses what NASA uses.
Right.
Which is bizarre.
Why?
And then this is a Dan Aykroyd line. The whole building is a huge superconductive antenna that was designed and built expressly for the purpose of pulling in and concentrating spiritual turbulence. Oh.
Can you imagine finding this out about your building?
No. My building where I live? That's what this is?
Too scary.
So it said that Ivo Shandor, the architect, had worshippers. They conducted bizarre rituals on the roof, intended to bring about the end of the world.
I think we have said the name Ivo Shandor more on this podcast than most podcasts do.
Ivo Shandor.
It's so fun to say. And we also just talk about Ghostbusters because it kicks ass.
It kicks hard ass. Yeah. Ivo Shandor slaps. Clap Evo cheeks, whatever.
I clap Ivo Shandor cheeks.
I stan Evo cheeks.
Yeah.
So in real life, that's what Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis did. They took a high-rise in New York City and turned it into literally a thing that funnels ghost energy to create a portal so Gozer can step into our world.
Not in real life. This is what happens in the movie.
Right. Well, yes, they took a real-life thing and converted it into that. So what is it in real life? In real life, the building is 55 Central Park West, and it's a good 8 stories shorter than what's seen in the movie. They built it up higher to create this whole, like, portal thing at the top and to give the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man something to climb. But because it's a real-life building and because it's on Central Park West, it's a ritzy joint.
Yeah.
So notable residents, real-life residents include Ginger Rogers.
Ooh.
Hat designer Lily Daitch. That's what it said on that's what it said
so
on
funny. I know. I found a bunch of residents for the Dakota that I'll talk about later, but like I skipped over the ones where I'm like, I don't know who the hell this is. And I genuinely like that you kept them in.
Yes, it was worth noting.
Lily Daitch, of course. Everybody's favorite.
And Calvin Klein. But by far, it is most widely known, of course, as the Ghostbusters building.
Yeah.
That will be its identity forevermore.
Yes.
So those are my pop culture ones, let's call them.
Delish.
And then I have a legit haunted building that I can tell you about.
Great.
So this is the story of a place, a real life place, no more jokes. It's called 123 on the Park.
Okay.
It's like by Prospect Park in Brooklyn.
Sounds like a little kid's place.
It does.
Yeah.
And especially like I've watched so much of Sesame Street in the last couple of years. And Elmo lives at 123 Sesame Street.
Oh, yeah.
123 on the Park. It's
Maybe when he's in the city, that's where he stays, when he's taking meetings.
Maybe, yes. So for some reason, this is how I wrote it in my notes. Haunted sounds scary. I don't know why I wrote that as like a reminder to myself. Like
maybe it's just really what you were feeling.
Forgot what their show is.
Yeah.
Supposedly there was a very high turnover rate at this hotel.
I like that. Like 666 Park Avenue.
Yes. Oh my God. I forgot about that show.
Me too until right now.
Whoa. That was like a lost.
Maybe that's something to check out.
Yeah. Terry O'Quinn as the devil living
and Vanessa Williams? Is
really?
She in that?
Whoa, this was like a cheesy drama.
Yeah.
About the devil living in like a fancy house in New York. Oh my God.
Maybe in the vein of Sleepy Hollow, we should explore other.
I'm not against it.
Oh, I would love to.
I'm not against it. So anyway, there was this person, Alexandra Sepanovic, who was managing the property and did confirm to some newspapers that there is a high staff turnover at the building, and they've had issues renting. So no people are not staying for very long, especially if they work there.
Yeah.
This now from the New York Post. One doorman said he was doing routine security walks in the basement and the back of the building, and every time he'd go down there by himself, he'd hear footsteps echoing all around him. The superintendent explained, he told me he felt like a presence was following him.
Oh.
So people who work at the building keep quitting. They don't stay very long, which is like great haunted house setup.
That's a great sign.
And here's what the deal is with 123 on the Park. It's a newer place.
Okay.
It only opened in 2014.
So what could be attracting them?
I'll tell you what.
Is it made with a core of quartz crystal?
Chris! It was formerly a hospital.
Oh.
It was formerly a hospital that opened up like 100 years ago.
That makes sense.
And then closed in 2004 and was mostly abandoned. Actually, you mentioned Law and Order before. While it was closed, it was used a lot for filming Law and Order.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, they do have a lot of hospital scenes, unsurprisingly.
And then, somebody opened it up as they converted it into an apartment building. It still visually looks like a hospital.
Really?
Yeah. Like from the outside. Like,
okay.
Sort of like the not the inside.
No,
like,
I know. I wouldn't think it would look like super hospital. I was trying to think, are the hallways so distinctive that you'd be like, oh, this setup is very hospital-y. I don't know.
Maybe. I've seen where people like convert a school or something like
that's
that,
what I was
and the
thinking.
linoleum floors still scream like elementary school.
Yeah, they're just elements that are just kind of ingrained in all of us.
Little
Where we'll be like,
touches.
wait, what is this? Why does this feel like a hospital?
A decorative bedpan here and there.
Well, our family is not opposed to those.
Plastic jug you hang on the side of your bed. We all know what that's for.
Well, our grandma and then mom had a chamber pot.
You're right.
That was like, I don't know, pretty or something. It was
You're right.
used decoratively.
The thunder pot.
Yeah, the thunder pot.
Bring the thunder. So there are tons and tons of articles about this place being haunted. 1, 2, 3 on the park.
Sure.
And they were all written like within a year of the place opening. So this is from the New Yorker. It quickly developed a reputation. In January, a woman was standing in her kitchen when the overhead lights switched off. A doorman was watching security camera footage one night when the motion sensor lights in a stairwell flipped on one by one. First on the 7th floor, then 6th to the 5th. 4, 3, 2, 1. Just the lights kept going down as if somebody was going down the stairs. But of course, there was no living thing in sight. A cab driver dropped off a resident with a warning. Be careful, it's full of skeletons.
Okay.
Bizarre.
Just freaking out the residents.
All right, sir.
Yeah.
Just leave. Turnover seemed high among the building's doormen, one of whom commented that 1, 2, 3 on the park was, quote, a messed up place to work because it's haunted.
Getting right to the point.
Right to the point. Now, because here's the thing. There's not a lot.
Yeah.
There's not like
I'm sure it's like your standard haunting stuff.
Very standard haunting stuff. But there was a fun section. This is partly why my stuff is all themed today. Mm-hmm. There's a section of this article about the haunted building where a resident named Janine Melnitz is said to have instantly experienced hauntings the second she moved there. Does that name ring a bell?
No.
Janine Melnitz is the receptionist in Ghostbusters.
Actually, I was just thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got one. That's Janine. In this the New Yorker article, this resident refused to use her actual name.
That's funny.
But they don't explicitly say she's using a Ghostbusters name.
Yeah, right. Maybe the author didn't know.
I don't know what's going on, but I ended up just in a Ghostbusters world for this show.
I love that.
For like at least 2 different reasons.
Right.
You know? So, doors would open and close on their own, and she heard a bunch of strange sounds. Walking through a subcellar, Janine Melnitz said she knows someone definitely died here. That's it. That was the fullest extent they described that. They were just like, she walked in a subcellar and said, I know someone died here. It's like, why?
Yeah, do you factually
Based
know
on
that?
what?
You're just saying like because it's scary.
What are you talking about?
I mean, maybe she said like, I know someone died here.
Yeah.
You know?
And then in other flimsy news, she said that a ghost hunter visited the building and immediately saw a single open window, which perfectly revealed, quote, a dimly lit crucifix.
Wait, hang on.
Okay.
A single open window.
So what?
I don't understand.
Yeah, neither do I. Like, as if like every single
outside?
building, every single window of the building was closed except for one.
Uh-huh.
And looking through the window, there was a crucifix perfectly framed in the window. So
like
what?
Like a church or something?
Who cares? Just because, like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that crucifix could be a shorthand for like some sort of demonic thing, but like,
the fight against
just seeing one
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, bizarre.
Turn it upside down at the very least to make it scary.
At the least, Janine.
Huh.
All right, so here's something that I enjoyed, though.
Yeah.
Others were starting to notice strange things, too. Quote, when I was in the sub-basement many months ago, I definitely felt something weird. Andy Hammingson, the executive director of St. Anne's Warehouse, who lives on the 4th floor, said. A veterinarian on the 1st floor found that objects often fell from shelves, and her television had a habit of turning on without anyone touching the remote. I'm a scientist, so I'm very rational, she said. Usually.
Oh.
The location of the hospital morgue had become an increasing concern. This is the fun. You live. You
Wonderful.
got, right? You rented an apartment.
Yeah.
In what used to be a hospital.
Right.
And at first you're like, oh, this is kind of quirky. It's kind of cool. I just need a place to live. I don't know.
And also, like, who cares? Because I'm sure it's, like, extremely renovated.
Listen.
I mean, obviously.
There's a schmancy place.
Of course.
I actually
so
have
it's
some
just like,
information.
Almost irrelevant to a degree. But maybe you move in and things start happening. You're like, it was a hospital.
It was a hospital.
Could it be?
Wait a minute. That means that some room around here was the morgue.
Right.
And wouldn't that wig you out on some level, even if you don't believe in ghosties?
Yeah, just like, like this stuff physically happened here. Like ghosts, you can debate,
Absolutely.
Obviously. But certainly people died here and were kept here.
Yes. So Janine Melnitz suspected that the laundry room had once been the morgue, while Maxime Mallet, a French newspaper reporter, had pegged the gym. Maybe I can say the fear of ghosts prevents me from going, he said.
That's a great excuse.
It's a good joke. It said that the building had a hard time, as I mentioned, had a hard time holding on to staff, right? So there can be other reasons why staff don't stay at a place besides spooky ghosts are scaring them.
Yeah.
And it does seem like there's some evidence.
Also,
pointing in a non-paranormal direction for why everyone keeps quitting.
Service jobs kind of tend to be a little bit transitory.
Yes, absolutely.
So I thought that, like when you were saying it, I mean, if it's like bellboys and, cleaners and stuff like that, it can change around. But
so here's the other thing. Evidently, 123 on the Park is a non-union workplace.
Okay.
So there's not great pay.
Yeah.
There's not great benefits. And supposedly they'd lied to a few of these workers and claimed they were going to be making more money than they did.
Oh my God.
Maybe that's a better explanation.
Than ghosts.
And the place is just so durned haunted.
Right.
This dang place is haunted.
Maybe the people who own it spread that rumor. So like you may be noticing that there's a lot of changeover with our doorman. It's actually because it's haunted, not because we pay them pennies.
That's some Scooby-Doo ass justification.
Yep.
Right? Like rich Uncle Pennybags just being like, the place is haunted. Can't keep any of the workers.
I don't know. It's not my fault.
Not my fault that I'm not paying them at all and I lied to them.
Right.
Tricked them into the job. So the New Yorker tracked down a former doorman, Robert Samuel, who had an awesome quote. Ghosts are scary, and I believe in that stuff, but equal wages for equal work. That's what really drove me away.
Certainly.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And then I tried to find more. Let me just see. What is this? From the Huffington Post, I have this. Oh, yes. Supposedly, a writer named Colin Dickey wrote a book.
Yes, I've read this book. Yep.
Okay. So 123 on the Park is in that book.
Yeah, it's called like Hauntings in America or something. Do you have the name? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's correct. He uncovered a somehow more heartbreaking origin story than expected, citing a Gothamist investigation, Gothamist being a newspaper that's about New York.
Yeah.
He reports that this reporter, Lauren Evans, was told by employees that the ghost rumor had been started by neighbors who were concerned that the high-priced apartments would drive up their own rent.
Oh.
Let's say they're haunted so that no one will want to live there. So they have to drop the price so that our rent is not, artificially inflated itself.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Worth a shot.
Weirdly, I tried to follow the rabbit hole. I tried to go to that Gothamist investigation by Lauren Evans. Dead link.
Oh.
Couldn't even find the article on their website.
Huh.
Gone.
Weird. Like a ghost.
Poof.
In the night.
Poof. Now, here's the scariest news of all. It's the last stuff that I've got for you. It's going to scare you.
Oh, boy. I don't know if I'm ready, but go ahead.
The rent.
Whoa.
There are 2 units available in 123 on the Park right now. One is a 3-bedroom, 3 rooms. This is weird. 3 rooms, 1 bed, 1 bath.
Okay.
Guess the rent.
I have no idea.
$3,000, $3,250.
Oh my God.
There's another unit. 4 rooms, 1 bed, 1 bath.
Wait, $3,250
Yeah.
for... It's actually not as bad as I would have thought.
You don't think so?
No, it's I couldn't do it.
All right, add 1 more room to it. What happens to the price?
Goes up 1,000?
Pretty good. It's actually a better deal if you think it's going to go up 1,000.
Yeah, right.
$4,000 a month.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, I don't know. I would have thought it'd be worse.
That's a lot of money.
It absolutely is a lot of money, but rent is a lot of... In town, it's a lot of money.
It is. That is true.
You know what I mean? That's like double, I would say.
Maybe the ghost
and double
down. Maybe the plan worked. I don't know.
Double is not as terrible as I would have thought. I would have thought it'd be triple what it'd be to get an apartment in town.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then I guess you're moving in.
I guess so. I may as well.
1, 2, 3 on the park.
Yeah.
Lickety split.
Wow.
Start lugging.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it can be my pied-à-terre. My place in the city.
Oh, God.
You've never heard of a pied-à-terre?
No, would you get that from and then there's that or whatever, that Sex and the City sequel? and whoop, there it is. What's it called?
And just like that.
And just like that.
And then there's that.
And then there's that.
No, I don't know. It's like a fancy person thing. It's like your second home that's like a little... I don't know. What the hell does it mean? Hold on.
Wasted. It probably just means second home.
Probably. It's a French thing, so... Pied-à-terre?
Good luck spelling it. You doing it right?
I actually did get it.
Let's see.
It is a small living unit, apartment, or condominium often located in a large city and not used as an individual's primary residence.
But what did the phrase... You looked it up to see what that directly translated it to.
Oh, no, I just want to know what it meant.
Oh.
And I got pretty close to spelling
Wait, I looked it in too. It says, you stink.
Let me see actually what it translates to. It translates to you suck.
Hey.
It translates to you stink.
Give me that.
Translates...
No, it doesn't. Let me see.
All right. So before we move over to the Dakota.
Yes.
We need to make sure that you know about patreon.com/GTTUpod, where you can go to help support the show that comes out every week, while also getting a bunch of extra stuff. We actually have a second whole podcast that also comes out weekly.
A whole ass podcast.
A whole ass podcast called the Netherworld Dispatch, which comes out every Monday. And if you sign up at the Demon tier on Patreon, you get every Monday's episode. And if you sign up at one of our other tiers, you'll get them slightly more intermittently, but still not bad.
Not bad at all. Go poke around, patreon.com/GTTUpod.
Right.
Most recent episode is us looking at some horror news that's hit recently. We watched the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yep.
No, did we? Wait a minute.
We did, yeah.
Oh, okay, yes. I got confused because there was also a trailer for The Nun that came out like 2 seconds after we recorded it.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it actually looked pretty good.
Really?
Surprised to say, yeah. Surprised to say. It was a good trailer. You know what I mean?
Okay. I mean, maybe we'll be surprised with Insidious.
I don't know. And that was the other thing. We did, as mentioned, talk about Insidious, The Red Door.
Yep.
And unexpectedly, our love of it. It was very, very, very enjoyable. I do recommend it. Go watch it.
Me too.
But go check out our conversation about it at superfun, patreon.com/GTTUpod.
Yep. You also get access to our Discord.
Yes.
When you join over there, even at the $1 tier. You can get in the Discord where awesome people are talking about awesome things every single day.
Yep. And we've been on our journey to 1,000 reviews. Guess what, Kristen?
On the road.
We hit 900.
Yes!
We did it.
Thank you.
We did it.
Thank you very much.
And here was the 900th review.
Hope it's a positivo.
It says, let me see here. It says,
it a good one?
You stink.
Oh, God damn it.
Oh, shit. It's from RT Gamer USA. Fun times in the horror genre. This podcast is fantastic. Allows insight into most things horror-related and horror-adjacent. Being around the same age as the hosts helps relate to the content more and more, and each host brings something to the table.
That's
nice.
Worth
the listen if you're interested in this genre. 5 stars.
Lovely. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate that.
And thank you to everybody who has left us a review. We greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Honestly, hugely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So thank you very much. And if you haven't done it yet, that would rule. You can do it on Apple, or you can do it just wherever you listen, Spotify.
Not everybody is on Apple Podcasts anyway. I'm thrilled that we just hit 900.
Me too.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's really crazy. Thank you very much.
So now tell me about your extensive, finely written notes.
Well, also, I wanted to mention that Will be appearing live and in person in Burkittsville, Maryland.
Yeah, that's right.
The setting of the Blair Witch Project, to watch a screening of the Blair Witch Project outdoors there for the very first time that it's been broadcast there. Mm-hmm. And Will be doing Blair Witch trivia before the movie starts. It's so cool. So please go there. I wish I could be there. I have a prior obligation, But
yes.
yeah,
My understanding is literally you better buy your tickets right this second because I think it might be sold out.
it might be, but give a look anyway, just in case.
And it's so cool. And listen, because it's selling out, hopefully that means that it happens again.
Yeah.
I'm also hearing murmurings that
You're right, it could happen again. That helps a little bit for me.
Perhaps Eduardo Sanchez is going to attend.
Oh, good.
It feels like that's not impossible.
He's the director of the Blair Witch Project.
One of the co-directors.
Excuse.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be so cool. I can't wait to hear about it.
I wrote some good trivia. I got some good trivia there. I wanted to like work in some subjective trivia, which is not fair at all.
What do you mean?
I wanted to like put in like, is the threat in this movie a witch?
Is it good?
Is it good? I want to write, is this movie about a witch?
Yeah.
Because I do not think
You should just all make it structured like the Chris Farley character whose name I can't remember. It should just all be like, remember when they found those rocks that had hair and blood in them? And so the answers are all like, yeah?
It was awesome. You know that classic character's name?
No.
Chris Farley. He was doing the Chris Farley show.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But so, yeah, that's going to be super duper fun. Check out the show notes. Maybe somebody backs out. Maybe you can find scalpers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll try to record something on the drive down or there or something and report back to you at least.
Yeah, I really, really wish I could be there, but it's going to be a very good time.
Yeah, no, it's a shame.
I know, it really is. It bothers me. Okay, so I try not to harp on it every time we talk about it, but it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about the Dakota.
Yes.
A famous building, researched extensively,
And then what?
cataloged impeccably, and then
did something go wrong with your notes?
they disappeared, everybody. They absolutely disappeared. I was making sure that they were synced properly between my iPad and my phone, which I use for the show. Mm-hmm. And before my eyes blinked out of existence, except for like the first sentence and a half, which I don't understand.
And this first sentence just said, "This is going to be good."
And it was, again, I won't just harp on my own shit.
It was like when Mike TV gets turned into a little guy and he's floating through the sky, millions of particles, but then they all just got deleted.
I couldn't believe it. It really was cartoonish as cartoonish as when I was done. I was like, ooh, this is good. I like all this. I think I have a little bit too much, but we can always store that for later. I can't believe it all disappeared.
Supernatural. You're dabbling in, let's face it.
You're right. Things I don't understand.
Things you don't understand, the occult. And so sometimes in our line of work, you get burned.
Right. This is honestly, frankly, an occupational hazard.
A goblin ate your notes.
But luckily, I will say, a lot of them were from one source because I found this book that's largely available on Google Books. At the very least, you can read this entire chapter that I'm going to talk about on Google Books for free. The links will be in the show notes. And I use that for the bulk. So happily, it's not as hard to reconstruct as it might have been.
Good.
So the Dakota is this super famous building in New York City where Rosemary's Baby was filmed. It's also where John Lennon and Yoko Ono lived, and it's where John Lennon was killed.
No way.
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, that's basically those two things are what it's most famous for. I would say number one, that it's where John Lennon died and lived, and number two, Rosemary's Baby.
I've got it on the set. We're looking at a picture of it right now in the video version. It looks like Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. If you told me that this was in New York, I'd be surprised. This looks like it's in like London or something.
So it's I kind of remember this. Don't hold me to it. It's like inspired by like German architecture or something. And it's extremely unique for New York architecture. So it has these like really long, tall spires on it. Really intricate like ironwork on these balconies. It really doesn't look like it's in New York. It's very strange. And so it stands out too. It's also probably famous because it's so memorable to look at because it doesn't have that like Chrysler building, sleek metal thing that New York kind of was built up around as we know it today.
Is it also on Central Park West?
Yes, it is.
That's where Dana Barrett's apartment building is. What's going on the west side?
I don't know. I think we don't know because it's too rich for our blood.
Probably,
yeah. But I mean, it's really awesome looking if anybody wants to take a look. And because of that, they used it for the exterior shots of Rosemary's Baby and interior. And I'm glad I remember a little bit about
Rosemary's Housey.
Rosemary's House. Yeah, I mean, it may as well be because everything's humongous. So Another thing that's unique about it is that even though it's humongous and it's a big corner building, no two apartments are the same. Every apartment has a slightly different layout. And also, all the apartments have marble mantelpieces in them, like hand carved, and they are also all different in every single apartment.
Is that a mistake? You dunderhead!
This was supposed to be uniform!
Stick to the plans, you nincompoop!
I know. Yeah, it just seems like a really cool...
It is really cool.
Weird place.
Yeah.
And also, even to this day, the, I guess, co-op board or whatever is extremely picky about who they will let live there. And they have rejected a ton of famous people.
Oh, good. Do you know some rejections?
I do, luckily. So... famous people did live there. Judy Garland, Lauren Bacall, Lillian Gish.
Wait, who's that?
I don't know. Same as you saying whoever that was before.
Yeah, right.
Boris Karloff.
Okay, that's cool.
Kind of perfect.
He belongs in that building.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Gothic mansion in the middle of the city. But here are some of the people who they rejected for whatever reason. They may have thought that they don't want a ton of paparazzi around.
So
like, who knows? Cher.
Whoa.
Melanie Griffith and Antonio Banderas while they were married.
Because they were married? Were they admitted separately after?
Yeah, later on they each were able to go in. Madonna, Carly Simon, Billy Joel, Judd Apatow, Alex Rodriguez, and this one I didn't remember, Téa Leoni. What are they thinking?
Wait, who's Téa Leoni?
Have they not seen... Oops, I was going to say the wrong thing. I was thinking she was Jenna Elfman.
Oh.
I was going to say, have they not seen Krippendorf's Tribe?
Have you?
No.
I've seen the VHS. Like the checkout line at a supermarket.
I mention it anytime I can, honestly.
By the way,
I think it's very funny.
Sad day. My local ShopRite, for some reason, no longer carries DVDs.
It's still open?
Yeah.
The one here?
No, that was a Stop and Shop.
Oh,
ShopRite.
Okay. Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know how like sometimes a supermarket just bizarrely carries movies for some reason? Doesn't have it anymore.
Oh no! What are you gonna do?
Well, thank God I already bought every horror movie that my local Rite Aid had been selling.
I was about to say that. Like, just go to Rite Aid.
I literally forgot that I did that until that sentence. I bought every horror movie that was still being sold at my local Rite Aid last year.
Yeah.
I should look at those.
Yeah, they were weird.
Rite Aid. Yeah,
right?
they were crap. Take a look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, Rite Aid always had weird movies. Téa Leoni. What was she in? I mean, she was married to David Duchovny.
Okay.
She was on a sitcom for like a while that was very successful. She is an actress and she's blonde, has short, kind of like flippy hair, or at least she did then.
She was on Madam Secretary.
Okay, that was most recent.
Fun with Dick and Jane. Spanglish. Jurassic Park 3. Bad Boys.
Okay, I feel like she was on a sitcom for a while that did well, but it doesn't really matter.
She was in A League of Their Own.
She was?
And Frasier.
Huh. I'm surprised she was in A League of Their Own. I feel like she's young for that.
She's not, the only thing she's not in
is the Dakota. This podcast I listened to called Bitch Sessions, the Housewives podcast. One of the co-hosts, Casey Wilson, said that when she heard the news that David Duchovny publicly said he has a sex addiction, which is like a long time ago, she was like, I know everybody's upset about it, but I think it's kind of sweet, because she thought he meant he just can't stop having sex with his wife. I mean, I know he's struggling with this, but it's kind of nice. And somebody was like, Casey, he's not having sex with his wife.
I think you've misunderstood.
Yeah, exactly. It's really
kind of sweet.
It's really funny. So enough about the living people who have tried to live in the Dakota or did. Let's talk about the dead ones. And this is from the book Life at the Dakota. And it's really, at least this chapter is interesting. And the chapter is titled Spooks. So the first thing I want to tell you is that apparently like people in the area, unsurprisingly based on what it looks like, referred to the Dakota as the Dracula.
Oh.
Which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
It looks like an old Gothic
imposing
castle.
And it looks like it belongs in black and white.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it was just a known thing that obviously it looks creepy, but also that it's maybe haunted. So at one point, one of the residents, Rex Reed, who was, if I remember correctly, a film critic, was waiting outside in the rain for a taxi with his umbrella and was just kind of chatting with the doorman. And he was saying that he would have loved to have gotten to meet Boris Karloff, who was a resident here, but who had died by the time Rex Reed lived there.
Yeah.
And the doorman apparently lowered his voice and said, "He'll be back. Wait and see."
Oh.
So when you said that somebody said something freaky to somebody else, it reminded me of that. What was it? They said like, "Oh, the place is haunted."
Yeah.
Or whatever. It was like somebody let somebody in on it who
The skeleton's in there.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's just like a blunt.
Right.
Just wait, you'll see. The ghost of Boris Karloff haunts these halls.
What the hell does that mean?
Would it be awesome if instead of like using AI and deep faking like dead celebrities, if we could get their ghosts to be in a movie?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Starring the ghost of Jack Klugman.
Yeah, instead of a hologram.
Tony Randall.
Jack Klugman. It took me a second. That's your dream. That we can bring back Jack Klugman and Tony
If only I
Randall.
could see him one more time.
Just once more.
Please, God. Like no one,
I don't ask for much.
No one in our family or anything. Just let me
Jack
see
Klugman.
Jack Klugman.
What a name to pull out of your ass. Oh, that's so funny.
Remember that review that was like, it helps if you're their age? I think you need to be older.
I have to say, I don't. That's zero Musto. Oh, God. Okay, so Rex Reed, this fellow. So he had other trouble here as well.
Yes.
So he was having his apartment renovated, and one day they found that the apartment was on fire.
Oh, no.
Because there was just a pile of stuff right next to the door that was lit on fire. A pile of shavings and scraps.
What does that mean?
I don't really know. I think just like...
Shavings?
I know. I was thinking if they're renovating it, maybe they were like pulling down old wallpaper so that could account for the scraps. Wood shavings? Were they like carving something?
That's bizarre. Shaving their faces?
I'm really not sure. But none of the workmen were there at the time. None of the workmen smoked, so they couldn't even say like, oh, maybe somebody dropped a cigarette and like whatever. And they were able to get to the fire in time for it not to like, decimate the building or whatever, but there was enough smoke and water damage that he had to start the entire renovation all over again because it completely ruined his apartment.
Oh my God.
Which really, really sucks. Now you have to wonder, could this have been the work of the mad slasher?
What?
Who was tormenting the Dakota for a time?
Oh.
Okay.
Yes.
So sometimes called the Mad Slasher or sometimes called the Phantom of the Dakota, this was a character who was vandalizing stuff for a period.
Oh, not a killer or a knife chopper.
Knife guy. Well, so no, he made big slashes in the elevators, but people were saying that this must be, I don't know, a ghost or something, because the slashes were too high up for it to be like a rambunctious child or something like that.
Okay.
But then also too deep for it to just be like a casual dude, I guess. It seemed very strange that this had happened because they looked like slash marks, but like how did these occur?
Oh, they're saying like it looked like no ordinary man could make those slashes. So it had to be a dinosaur.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly that. And so they kept happening week after week, which made people think that it had to be somebody within the building, or could it be a ghost within the building?
Yeah.
So rumors were flying about this. And at the same time, not unlike in Rex Reed's apartment, these piles of shredded paper started appearing in the hallway.
Oh.
And it seemed like somebody was maybe trying to start a fire. Like they weren't lit on fire always, but just like, it's like they were trying to create fire hazards throughout the building.
Little piles.
And it was pretty much always in the 9th floor corridors, which is strange. Is this another clue?
Yeah.
We do not know.
That also feels oddly like a Blair Witchy type, like you just, all of a sudden there are these piles inexplicably of something.
They're like paper cairns.
Yeah, paper cairns.
Yeah. Very weird. And then one day, one of the residents was like walking outside of the building, and this paint can came flying from the top of the building and just missed hitting them.
Oh.
And if it had hit them, they would have died because from so far, I mean, probably, it was from so far up. You know, they say you can throw like a penny off the Empire State Building and it would kill somebody. Right. Like they would have been like extremely injured. And apparently there was no painting going on up there. Like nobody knows why that happened or why there were even.
I see what you're doing.
Like,
I see what you're doing.
What am I doing?
You're trying to, like I got you with Ghostbusters before. Oh, what was it? Harry and Marv? That was Kevin throwing paint cans?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing, okay? No, I'm trying to tell you a real grounded story. I've been working my ass off on this thing.
You have.
I'm working from I have. I've been working from detailed notes here. Yeah. And no, but that is very funny.
That's weird. Paint cans, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really, really strange. And also people were saying that it didn't like it was
somebody opened a door and a blowtorch singed the top of their head.
Somebody threw a brick.
Yeah.
They said that the velocity it seemed to be coming down from wasn't like it just got like tipped over.
It wasn't gravity.
It was like it got like thrown off of the roof. Poltergeist activity. So concerned residents organized themselves into like a little neighborhood ghost watch because by this point they felt like there was like a murderer in their midst or something. So they would put themselves at different points where they felt like they were unseen, and they would be like looking with field glasses to see if they could catch anybody doing anything, but they never caught anybody doing anything. And then as quickly as the slashers' activities began, they stopped.
Oh.
So I think probably it was a rambunctious or nut in the building. And then when they somehow heard that there was like a neighborhood watch kind of deal, they're like, I better stop because I'm going to get caught.
Yeah. I better go dormant. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just somebody unleashing like aggression.
Yeah, I know. I mean, who knows? Because seriously, I think that you had to be really rich to be living in this building. Was it some sort of like disaffected teen?
Right, sure.
You know, some like moody teen who's like, oh, this place was created by the man for the man. So then they just started.
Like what Paul Simon is really like? You know,
yeah, he has to channel aggression somewhere because it's not coming out in the music.
Yeah,
it's such mellow, tunage that he's got to slash elevators.
I play the sound of silence because really I'm full of
rage,
violence.
Ooh. Yeah, he just has to achieve equilibrium in some way. So let me just find something. Okay, so there was this dude whose name was Joe Mielziner, and he lived in the Dakota, and he was just also super into it, which was probably really fun. Like he kept a scrapbook of Dakota stuff because it had like a long history, and it's this really unique building. Yeah. So, just really invested in the place. And he said that he often suspected that there were spirits there. So he died in 1976, right outside the Dakota. He was pulling back up at home in a taxi, but he died before he got inside. And people think that he might be haunting the building because strange things started happening, mostly in the basement. So one of the porters who worked in the Dakota went to grab this guy named Wilbur Ross, who was a banker, because he was scared. I mean, maybe they were buddies or something. But this porter comes to just like grab a resident and be like, I saw something scary in the basement. Will you come downstairs with me? So they went down together, and the porter told him that this heavy snow shovel, which was against the wall, went flying across the basement in front of him.
Whoa.
And I guess he just wanted like a second person to be there with him and maybe see something. And things like that kept happening in the basement specifically. So at one point there was like a stack of garbage bags unused that were thrown around everywhere. And that tenant, Wilbur Ross, said that he saw a pole that was in the building like levitate and fling right in front of him.
Wow.
And kind of similar to what you were saying with one of the residents of somewhere, he was like, I'm a very logical person. I'm a banker. I deal with numbers. So I'm not really prone to flights of fancy and believing in the paranormal, but I'm telling you that I saw this and it's real. So, you know, counts for maybe a little something more to some people. And now during this period, again, with the elevators, I'd be taking the stairs if I lived at the Dakota.
Oh my God.
they just started moving up and down of their own accord, the elevators. They like come from the basement and would go up, and they would just start moving around during this period.
And you're just trying to live your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have time to 100% dedicate yourself to what's going on in my apartment. You're like, I've got to go to work. I don't know what is going on here.
Like, why are the elevators all messed up? And also, like, I wonder, so if this is the ghost of Joe Mielziner, as people think it is because he was obsessed with the Dakota. He, like, loved it. So why is he doing this, like, kind of troublesome, meddlesome stuff? And I was thinking that it probably is just, if we're just believing it's all true, the same, like, pushing pennies principle. Like, maybe it's just that he wants people to know that he's there and he's doing it whatever way he can. And so it's like throwing stuff around. Because I guess, how do you do it gently to alert people to your presence if you can't, I don't know, make yourself seen or whatever? You need to move stuff.
Here's the another theory about ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Ghost, we saw Patrick Swayze like die, and then he was more or less the same dude. Just now he's a ghost and people can't see him or hear him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you imagine how insanely scary, sad, and frustrating it would be if all of a sudden people don't see you, they can't hear you?
Horrible.
It would be horrible. You'd just feel invisible. I mean, you'd literally be invisible,
right.
But you'd like.
So it's like the frustration.
What if you go nuts?
Mm-hmm.
What if you go crazy?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally. And so you're just like throwing stuff around.
Yeah.
And then also going on that same theory, like if you're just like feeling like nuts and crazy and so frustrated, could weirdly in the spirit realm, things be moving on the same principle as like the poltergeist sort of thing in the real world, where they say that like around teenagers, for some reason, their like extreme emotions end up translating into this kinetic energy that makes things move around the house. So it's not necessarily like a ghost knocking your clock off the wall. It's still paranormal because it's not like proven or explained, but some sort of energy born of extreme emotion that physically knocks things. Maybe like the elevators going up and down or whatever are not him like pulling a pulley. Maybe it's that he and whoever else is just like, oh God, like see me, whatever. And is so frustrated at a 10. It's just making things go haywire and move.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
An interesting thought. Again, on the elevator tip, before I move over to John Lennon, there is somebody who saw this guy in an elevator who was one of the owners, or he bought the land that the Dakota was built on. So he's one of the developers of the Dakota, who was known as the man in the wig, or man with a wig, who appeared to an electrician who worked on the Dakota. This electrician's name was John Painter. And again, I just think it's interesting that people who live there and maybe people who worked there would be just super into it, and not just a living there, like in a curiosity sort of way, because this electrician was kind of fascinated with the way that the wiring in the building worked, because it was wired up and everything like in the 1800s, which is obviously very different from like, let's say it was the 60s when this happened, it may have, and just found it fascinating. And so when things didn't work right, and I have no idea how electrician works, he would sometimes essentially take his work home with him. Like if something wasn't working, he could take like part of a fuse or something, take it home, tinker with it, try to figure it out like on his own time. It was like a hobby.
Yeah.
And so one time he did that. He brought it all home, and then he went back to the Dakota on off hours just to like plug it back in and get it to work again. Because I guess he was excited to see if what he did at home will now actually work. And so when he did that, he went into the elevator to get where he needed to go. And he said that all at once, just appearing out of nowhere, out of the shadows, was a small man in, it says here, a frock coat and a winged collar, who had a short beard, a big nose, and teeny weeny little steel-rimmed glasses, and that the guy glared at Mr. Painter for a few minutes and then reached up, snatched the wig off of his head, and started just shaking it in Painter's face.
Oh my God.
And then disappeared. And this apparently happened with this guy, Painter, 4 more times. And so...
Wait.
Yes.
Remind me. Who's wearing the wig?
The ghost.
The ghost is.
The ghost snatches his own wig, shakes it in John Painter's face, the electrician, and then disappears, like looking all mad.
What's he trying to communicate?
What it says in this book is that perhaps he was angry about the fact that the building was losing money. I think that's just a guess out of thin air, as I do as well. But I don't know if as a ghost, like, would you really care it's losing money? I guess you could be worried that that could lead to later on, I don't know, it going out of commission or something.
Or just like you're infuriated that like the thing that you loved is in disrepair and no one cares or something.
But
Like
Painter clearly cares his ass off.
No, I know. I agree.
I know. So the man with the wig should not be bothering this man in particular.
He sounds like Rumpelstiltskin or something.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. It really paints quite a picture. A guy in like a fancy coat with a big collar, a big nose, tiny glasses, and a wig.
Yeah.
That he like snatches off.
Right. I have no idea.
Surprising to say the least.
Yes.
So John Lennon.
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll finish with this. John Lennon and Yoko Ono lived here. And he died right outside of it. So there are people who talk about, I've heard of it, but very just regular ghosty sort of stuff like that. They've seen apparitions of John Lennon in the hallway, things like that.
Right.
However, John Lennon, while he was living there, had his own sort of like haunted history kind of thing there,
cool.
and looked into it. So he bought he bought his apartment, and before he and Yoko Ono moved in, they wanted to see like who might be also occupying it as a ghost. So they brought in a medium to check things out, and they got in contact with the previous owners who, let me see, I'm sorry guys, real quick. Okay, the previous owners were the actor Robert Ryan, I don't know who that is,
Don't know.
and his wife Jessie. And so Jessie Ryan passed away in the apartment, and Robert Ryan moved out soon afterward because the memories there were like too upsetting. And so he just decided to move to a nearby building. And so the Lennons decided they wanted to hold a seance in there to see who might be around. They hired a medium, and the medium said, at least, that she quickly made contact with the spirit of Jessie Ryan. And that Mrs. Ryan told the Lennons that she considered their apartment her home as well, and that she still intended to stay there, but she won't disturb them in any way or freak them out, and that they can just like go about their business, live life as they want, change whatever they want, but I'm just going to be here. Like, just FYI.
I don't know. Sometimes ghost stuff, whenever it gets into like invisible roommate and the medium is just like translating for you or something, it's like less fun in a way. Where it's just
because
like,
it's so much easier.
I just like it here, so I'm not, you guys do you. I'm just gonna chill.
Right. Well, it's just so much. Wait, are you saying it has less credence because a person is?
It just feels less interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, because it's so much easier to think like, oh, they're just making this up. Like even with something that you see, like you could not believe in ghosts, but there could still be that little percentage of you that's like, but did I see that? Because it's your own experience. Right. But just taking somebody else's word for it, they're just like talking to somebody is like, could be cool. Maybe you have an established relationship with this person that makes you really trust them or whatever, but it's much harder to buy into.
All you can do is just go like, oh, okay.
Right. Like I'm not seeing or hearing anything. I can only take you at your word. So I agree. It's not as fun to like hear about or read about. But then Yoko Ono took this information and got herself in some doo-doo. So I think that it sounds like she was coming from a good place, but like I would not love this either. So they finish up their seance. I guess that was the only spirit that was hanging around there. And by the way, the circumstances are like perfect because like I have gone into places that are supposed to be haunted. You know, I've said like, if there are any ghosts here, no problem. If, you know, hang out, but please just don't scare me. Yeah. If you want to like show me something or whatever, or show your presence, cool, but please don't make it scary. So that's what she's saying she's going to do. She's saying, I'm going to be a ghost, but I'm not going to interfere in your life. That for me, best case scenario. Sure. So.
Well, best case scenario is
like a little something.
Is no ghost.
I don't mind a ghost. I would like there to be a ghost, and there's just like a little something that I know is happening. Just a little something.
Okay. All right.
Like, remember, so I'm thinking of when
you want to feel like you're never really alone?
I assume they're not always there.
Of course they are. What are they doing?
They can access all the realms.
They can access all the rooms. They can be doing anything.
Exactly. They can be doing anything, William. Anywhere. But this just might be their home base that they like check out sometimes. William, there's no time or space restrictions on the
That's
other
what
side.
you think.
They can do any. Yeah, it is what I think.
Yeah, what if they're stuck in this one place? I can't leave the apartment.
It's better for me to think that.
All right.
But so if they want to like turn on the, radio every once in a while and me be like, Jackie, and I just know they're there.
Like a pain in the ass. If we were recording and all the time there were ghosts just like turning on radios and shit all around us.
I don't know, maybe they help us out. Maybe they take out the garbage.
Sounds good to me. All right,
yeah, okay.
You've got me all turned around.
All right, anyway. So Yoko Ono heard this information from the medium and then called the Ryan's daughter, Lisa. Yeah, exactly. Called the Ryan's daughter, Lisa, to tell her that her mom was okay on the other side, she's happy, and she's in the Dakota. And Lisa Ryan was not into this news at all. Number one, who knows whatever beyond this, but just this excerpt is that she said basically, if my mother's ghost belongs anywhere, it's here with me and not like living with you in the Dakota. That's all it says here. I can imagine she may have felt other things, but maybe they only kept that in because it's Dakota centric.
Yeah.
But she seemed to be upset that her mother's ghost was staying in her former apartment.
So she's got beef with her mom now.
Basically. Yeah, basically. She didn't seem to be, based on this one sentence from this book from the 70s, she seemed not to be upset with Yoko. She was pissed at her mom for not following her.
Beefing with mama. Yeah. I'd be annoyed at Yoko Ono.
I would too.
Hey, leave me alone and don't talk about my mom. I don't know what, I don't know what you're doing in a bubble over there. I don't need to know.
Because, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's good, but I'm just saying, I don't know. Like, the fact that she had her daughter's phone number makes me wonder if they had kind of a relationship, because I don't know. Like, why would she even have access to Lisa Ryan at all? So maybe they were friendly or something. It's much more offensive to me if they like didn't really know each other at all, and Yoko Ono's calling and being like, I have a message from your mom. But I can imagine like if my good friend did that, like, I don't know, it would be hard for me to believe still, but I wouldn't be like, F off or whatever. Like I would know that they were coming from a good place or something.
I guess.
But because we're only working on this information, it sounds more random than that.
Yeah, it's weird.
However, just like I said, having her number at all kind of implies to me that maybe they have a relationship, but who knows?
Yeah.
So that is the Dakota.
Wow, the Dakota.
Yeah. It's a cool place.
It is cool.
Yeah. It's really happening. Like I said, you can look in the show notes and you'll be able to find the book there, if not the entire thing, definitely the whole chapter on spooky stuff. And yeah, it's really neat. And I'm sorry that it wasn't as good as it could be.
I thought it was great. Kristen, if you did not tell me that your notes disappeared, I wouldn't be sitting here being like, well, this is a snooze. No, you did a great job. Thank you.
Well,
I'm sorry, that sounds
much.
very frustrating.
I'm so pissed.
Yeah.
It's by Stephen Birmingham, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. Some New York buildings.
In the New York Minute.
Boo!
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Right? Everyone's a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to say, anyone can change.
Into a ghost.
Into a ghost.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We hope that you had a good time. Patreon.com/GTTUpod if you're of a mind to help us out, support us,
That'd be
and
great.
get a ton of shows. Thank you so much. The Netherworld Dispatch is a damn good time.
Hell yeah, it is. It's very
We're
fun.
going to have some weird games coming up on Monday. Some like failure to launch-esque horror games.
Yeah.
But it's fun to poke around. Go check it out. Follow us online at Chillin' Kristen, at The Myth Traveler.
Will you on Threads?
I am on Threads.
Nice.
I have posted several things.
I've threaded twice.
What? Look at you.
I know.
Look at you.
I know.
Threads, I mean, listen, cool.
They need to work on some stuff.
They got to work on some stuff.
They have acknowledged that they need to work on some stuff. I'm kind of surprised they launched it already without it finished, kind of.
Every time I open it, it's just like all these like Lay's chips being like, who's getting their dip on? And then like millions of people going like, I'm getting my dip on. I'm like, what is social media anymore? I don't give a shit about any of this.
I still follow Hellman's on Twitter.
Why?
Because I entered like a contest or something, and it's crazy.
Unfollow the brands, everybody. Unfollow the.
Well, no, I used to be a brand social media person, so I can't say that. Don't unfollow
I'm unfollowing brands. I've got to do it.
Do I personally do it?
Sick of...
But employ these people. I've had to be the person who's tweeting like, "Hey, everybody, propane's gonna light up your
Of course, and listen, and God bless everyone who's doing that job.
Yeah.
But I am sick and tired of Skechers tweeting at me like I'm their goddamn friend. I don't know you, and I don't care.
I'll leave it here. You know, it's a strange trend that I kind of liked, but now I find it just confusing in brand social media. Writing in the first person and like acknowledging that you're the social media person.
Right.
It's strange to me. Like, it's kind of fun, but like I saw something recently where like somebody pushed back on something that Entertainment Weekly said, and then somebody wrote back and they were like, "I'm trying to go on lunch break and I don't know why you're giving me a hard time," or whatever. And it's like, it's played out though by this point because people realize that people think it's funny. I don't know, whatever.
I feel, I'm a total grump about social media right now.
I am too, man.
It's all a goddamn mess, everybody.
It's a mess. It's so hard to look at. Everything is so ad-y.
And also,
and just so much. It like gives me a headache now.
I don't understand how everyone's posting as much as they do. Like I
they like it.
I guess they like it, but like there are people like I don't know how to promote our stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Where it's just like you can't post one thing every couple of days. You can't. No one will ever see it. And it's just like I don't know. I don't have the time.
It feels pointless.
I don't care. I just want to do stuff in our little sandbox.
I think that's basically what we're doing. Like
just
we put
do
it
our
out in kind of a
sandbox.
perfunctory way.
Yes.
But I don't know. I think the people who post a lot, I think they genuinely enjoy it, or they're getting paid for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if you don't genuinely enjoy it, like whatever. Because I also don't think it's the best place to get things seen anymore.
But I'm telling you, I see a lot of people like tweeting at Tostitos. Like it's just like all
because
these
they like it. They're having fun.
Ooh, they like it.
You know what I mean? And if you're not having fun, then you just don't do it.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm not having fun.
If Hellman's leaned on the hell, if they was like HEL, it can do the.
They posted something
is
really
it too late
weird.
for? They got to get started on their Halloween marketing push.
Oh, you're right.
Hellmans.
Hellmans.
Tweet that at them. That's going to be good. All right, everybody.
Oh, they're gonna love this.
We have to go.
Twitter, and I was like, "That's right. What is this? Oh, I can't even see it without. Never mind.
I don't know what's happening. What?
Hellman's garlic aioli is giving Vampire Slayer. They tweeted. So,
all right.
They're kind of.
I'll see you later, everyone. I'm gonna go poof into old man dust now.
Yeah, me too.
Have a good night. We'll see you on the other side. Until next time, we must travel.
Everybody keep posting though, because I love a lurk. Okay, back to the netherworld. Go with it.
I didn't mean to leave you hanging. I started working on. Yeah, I mean, I'll take a lurk. I guess I'll take a lurk at it.
I'll take a lurk.